Are you ready for some Bladeguard? Spiky bits. Welcome back, hobby maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com. We are taking a look at the new Space Marine releases for, I guess, what is it, February 2021. So we already did the Storm Speeder, which may or may not already be up on the YouTubes right now, but keep an eye out for that one. I think that was a very, very good one, if I do say so myself. So we are taking a look at the Combat Patrol, the Eradicators, and the Bladeguard Veterans. Now, remember, you can always get your hobbies for less at dicehead.com or Amazon or your local game store, but these days, just finding stuff on the shelf is probably half the battle with all the allocations and the craziness happening in the world right now. So, that being said, you know, get what you want as soon as you can, because you might not be able to find it, I suppose. And the Combat Patrol retails for $140, which isn't out of the ordinary since GW first started unveiling them back in summer of 2020. The Eradicators and the Bladeguard Veterans are both $50 each, which makes each of the models inside of it approximately $16.60 or something like that, which is, you know, I mean, when you compare it to these guys right here, the Inceptors, these guys were also $50 at the time and kind of set the precedent for what this is going to be. And then, of course, the Intercessors are $60 for 10, which makes them $6 each. But, you know, when you get up to the elite level guys here, you know, they always seem to charge more for that. So in GW money, it seems to make sense, but in real money, it's kind of like, woo, this hobby is, well, just like any other hobby, it is expensive. So let's do the breakdown of the Combat Patrol. I'm not really going to unbox it. I mean, it literally is a bunch of sprues that come with this stuff right here, and we showed you all of this on the channel back in 2017. So I don't feel like we need to kind of break that down, but we do need to talk about some values right here because they are actually there. So over at SpikyBits.com, you can always find articles on values and all sorts of musings and ramblings, of course, about the hobby. But this particular one, we broke down the Combat Patrol value a while back, maybe when we first kind of saw it. And this gives you a better idea of how much value is inside of it. So you're going to get 5 Intercessors. Now, GW actually charges a premium for 5. So they generally cost $35 currently, which if you get 10, they're 60, so they're not 70. So it's a little weird kind of how they do that, but whatever. So $35 we'll put them at here. The pack of 3 Inceptors at $50, which they're currently sold out, but many things are sold out online from GW. Primaris Chaplain for $35, Redemptor, a Dreadnought right there, also for $35, or excuse me, $65, which it's an impressive kit, to be quite honest. And there's lots of people with lots of upgrades out there. Of course, Pop Goes the Monkey has a bunch. I think Liber Demonica started getting into it and doing upgrades for them too. So a lot of cool stuff out there for those. And then 2 of the Dark Angels upgrade sprues, which actually retail on GW's site for $14 each. Now, remember, you can use for shoulders, heads, and weapons. They're pretty much not a size different from Primaris. They just scaled up the rest of the model just to make it a little bit bigger. So they've always been playing with the scales, which kind of makes sense because some of the older stuff definitely still works with the current Primaris stuff. So the total is $217, so you're looking at about $77 in value. That's assuming you don't get it at a discount from your local game store, you know, for reserving early and things like that. But like I said, now half the battle is just finding this stuff. So let's dive into the Bladeguard Vets first, because I feel like outside of Heavy Intercessor, actually they're all pretty equally anticipated, I suppose. It kind of sucks that the Heavy Intercessors are locked behind a paywall in that upcoming Kill Team box set, but you know, Games Workshop is what Games Workshop does, and it's only crazy if it doesn't work. I would be remiss in my duty to also talk about the fact that they just lowered the price on the 40K app, which is very curious because Games Workshop traditionally doesn't lower their prices on anything. Let's be real about it. So to see them actually lower their price on something which is already offered, depending on your opinion, done better by another company, you know, when it comes to army builders, I feel like that a lot of folks out there have voted with their hobby dollars, which is always what we say on here. If it works for you, sure, do it, buy it. You know, whatever works for you in this hobby. Don't let me tell you how to hobby. I'm going to give you some suggestions on how to hobby better and hobby easier, but at the end of the day, you know what's best for you. But I feel like a lot of hobbyists have not adopted that 40K app, thusly GW has lowered the price on it. Now imagine what would happen if we all did that with other things that we didn't like from Games Workshop. Maybe some prices would come down. I doubt it, but it's interesting because we've never seen it before. So I just wanted to sneak that one in there. softball pitch it in there. So when it comes to the instructions, we'll look at the sprues here in a second. There's 3 halvesy sprues that you probably just saw me unbox. Now what's cool about this Bladeguard kit, and you know, I'll be honest, you can watch my review of the Assault Intercessors. A lot of people watch that video. I was not impressed with the Assault Intercessors. I think the ETB versions that go together literally without glue are way more dynamically posed. Yes, the Assault Intercessor box comes with those extra Thunder Hammers and things like that, but like I said, those, you can get a normal Space Marine Thunder Hammer and it's the same scale as the Primaris stuff. So remember, you can use all the old Space Marine upgrade bits for heads, shoulders, and weapons on Primaris stuff, right? So just keep that in mind. I didn't think that was a good buy, and I was really hopefully optimistic when I saw some of the different poses that this would be a cool kit. And so let's dig in and let's see what's going on here, because it looks like each kit, or each, I guess, model on the sprue can make a bunch of different variants. So you got here like left hand shield, cleaning sword, holding sword with pistol at the ready, shield on the front here, and then if you look close, there's actually a shield on his backpack. And I don't know how they're going to pull that off with what kind of bit. So this is the base model here to assemble any of these variants, and you pick a variant and then you kind of go into how to assemble that, and you even pull off the little sword hilt, or excuse me, that's actually a different bit. So you glue the sword hilt on if you're not going to have the sword pulled, right? So that's really cool. Attention to detail, I love it. And then you've got a choice of 3 different side arms right here. And then, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. So there's this round circular kind of adapter bit for the storm shield itself, and I'm just eyeballing it, but it looks like the round convex shape is also this round size convex shape is this backpack right here. So that's probably how any of the storm shields from this kit would actually attach to the backpack, just right there. It just glues right on. So then you can, just go on and pick whatever pose. So there's that pose 2, there's pose 3, and they're all color coded: green, not colored, rose, or pink, and then you've got gold right here. So you pick your color and then you kind of go through and you go with that pose right there with the last one, cleaning sword, and then the storm shield is going to be on the back. Yeah, and it just attaches on the back right there. So that's really neat to see. And then you've got choice of heraldry pad right here, choice of head, all sorts of different stuff going on. I didn't really mention it in a Storm Speeder video except for in the intro. The little Storm Speeder heads are adorable. Like, look at those. You can't really see it because I'm not zoomed in on it, but they have little frowny faces. But it's not the frowny faces that get me. I just really like the styling of the helmet. And now that I've said, hey, the Storm Speeder guys have frowny faces, you'll never unsee it. I'm sorry, but I just really like the helmet. I think it's my favorite of all the Primaris helmets so far, to be quite honest. And then you go into what is this, Bladeguard Veteran A. And that you can do in 3 different poses here. So shield out, gun at the ready, sword ready to bear down, or sword in the left hand. That's a really interesting kind of mix, eclectic mix of poses right there. So you've got 2 different blade arms here. Now that's piece 46. Oh, that's at 44. Oh, okay, because that goes across there. Assembly 46. Okay, so that makes that dude about to get stabby. And then you've got this sword over here, and then you've got Bladeguard Veteran B, which makes... That's weird that they... Okay, so this build here makes all these different poses. So sword out, sword to the left, holding the hilted sword pointing, or holding the hilted sword pointing with the shield. That's cool. And then you can also make these variants here, like instead of the pointy arm, you've got the shooty arm, holding the shield or shield on the backpack. So this one actually seems to be the most posable of them all, which I'm loving, because these are not push fit. And they kind of look to be maybe that easier to build, not quite push fit, but slottable and things like that so far. And then that's pretty much it. So you've got a ton of different options here. I mean, each one, this one has 4, this one has 3, and this one has 4. So tons of different varieties to build these things right here, which I really think is cool. Taking a look at the sprues, you can see that for the most part, everything is kind of spread out, but it looks like each one is its own individual duder, except for you've got all of the heads over here that you can kind of choose from. So besides, and I may be misspeaking here, but it does look like each one is its own guy with all of the heads on this particular sprue right here, because storm shield, body, legs. might not be 100%, but that is rather interesting. And then there's the little socket bit right there, which is also concave. That looks like it would just fit right over that right there, which is really, really cool to see that they actually put that much thought into it. And of course they have holster, you know, the sidearm drawn from the holster, holstered sidearm, you know, and a slew of other different just cool little things like, hey, glue that into there unless he's drawn a sword. That really, it just shows that they spent a lot of time actually designing these kits. And yes, they are expensive kits, but I mean, I think they're very well done for what they are, and I'm liking this one so far way better than the Assault Intercessors. So we built a couple of different ones right here. Like I wanted to kind of get the feel for the kit itself and to kind of show you here. So this is one where the Storm Shield is actually on the backpack, and that works just great. I mean, it's really dope. We didn't glue in the hilts right here, although I'm not sure why he would draw a sword from this scabbard right here. Technically, I guess his sword should be over here, but whatever. That's it. It's an option they give you, and unfortunately, the sword goes on that side right there. And then, of course, he has also pulled his sidearm, which is right there, and it also not in the not sheathed up anymore. So great looking, very dynamic kind of configuration right here. And again, he's standing on a little bit of terrain, which we saw with the Bladeguard from the Indomitus as well. That kind of, you know, really looked dope. And you don't have to glue your shoulder pads on over the head. You know, so if you want to airbrush them and kind of paint them separately, that would definitely work out pretty good. And then we've got this guy right here as well, which is your traditional kind of Bladeguard holding the shield right here. He's pulling his sword from the right side, you know, because the sword's over here. And it just looks great, very dynamic. I like the composition of it. Everything kind of works. You know, he's got his sidearm holstered right there. He's got some doodads in the back here on his belt. And then, of course, that would definitely fit onto here. And I like the little bit they use to kind of attach it, which I just showed you on the sprue. That was really, really nifty too. And to be quite honest, I actually, for a second, could not tell the push fit Marine apart from the multi-part one right here. This is the push fit one from Indomitus, and it looks so similar. When I looked down, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know which one's which. And then I looked at it for a second. I was like, oh, okay. I saw, you know, a couple of differences right there. Like, you know, this is obviously a little bit more in line, but it's still a very dynamic composition and looks very good. Whereas this one is very similar, but it is a little bit more flowy when it comes to like the pose and the positioning of things right there, which you couldn't do quite so much with like the ETB. So the ETBs definitely stand up and would be very hard to tell apart on the tabletop from the multi-part kits right here. But if you want to do that cool stuff like pointing and having the storm shields on the back of the backpack right here and have a lot more variance to your, you know, 3- and 5-man squads of these guys right here, well, I think, you know, I think you might want to go with the multi-part kit, which is just hilarious that I literally could almost not tell them apart. Next up is going to be the Eradicators. So we've seen a lot of these get in play in pretty much all the Space Marine lists. Well, Bladeguards too, but I would say these are probably seeing more play than Bladeguards themselves. And this is 2 full sprues because it looks like there's actually 2 different variants of how you can kind of set up the weapons. Now there's one of each weapon, and then you've got the multi-melta variant right there. And then if you want to still equip your duders with the regular ones, you can make all that happen so you don't have a sergeant, you know, in case there's one of those scenarios where, like with the Death Watch, you can actually have a bunch of these dudes in a squad. So let's take a look at the you can also do that with the Outrider bikes too. So here is the setup of the box, and you can see right away that there's going to be 2 different ways to kind of put them together. So you can have the regular guys with their guns with these little canisters on the bottom, or if you want to make your guys look really dope and have these cool wires go into their backpacks, kind of like the Devastators, you can do that too. Now, unfortunately, it looks like the multi-melta only comes with that version of it right there. So going forward, we know that you're gonna have to make your sergeant guy look like this, but the other guys in the squad can either look like this or look like this here, just depending on how much, you know, you kind of really want to paint right there. So these steps 1 through 9 will give you this, steps 10 through 19 will give you that one right there. And then of course they show you like, hey, with this build out right here, you can create this pose, or this pose. And then you kind of skip ahead and it'll show you the next one. Whereas I guess it's just this one right here. So you can either do the sergeant or a regular guy right here. And then over to this pose right here, you can have, which they all call them the sergeant. I don't know why they call them this, all No, I guess it's that one's a sergeant. I don't know. They can't all be sergeants, right? So, but this one here, you can have pointing, or you can have, well, he's got his little Buzz Lightyear communicator right there if you want to do that, or you can be switching out the canister, or you can just be aiming with that one right there. And then it goes into, and this, of course, this is all the canister versions, and then it switches up and does your canister. But remember, your sergeant with the multi is still going to have that one right there. So really interesting how they do this and they make it all kind of work. And they have these really interesting poses. Now, I'm not sure how well the wires will go together. You know, early on, the Space Marines, the releases were plastic dudes. The Devastators came with pewter cables and pewter backpacks, and that was kind of a nightmare to get them all to work. And then we saw the Devastators come out in all plastic, and those worked a little bit better. But these seem really long, like cables, and they definitely are. I mean, for what they are, they're very organic looking, you know, with the curves and everything to it, which is really hard to do. So it's cool to see that. But, you know, we'll know in a few minutes, like, how well those actually go together. And I love that you can have the little wrist communicator right there while he's holding his little Melta off to the side right there. So that's kind of cool. Kind of digging that. And then there's all your options. You can add a little ground terrain piece and all your ribbons and auspexes and things like that, whatever you want. They actually have sidearms too that you can kind of slap on there. And then here's your IKEA kind of little load out there on the rules themselves. So let's get some of these built up and give you kind of an idea of how they look. So I wanted to start with the Sergeant here, which I think was, you know, kind of the most different looking of them all, because he has the actual multi-Melta upgrade right there. And this one has like a bundle of 4 cables going to the back, and it's really cool how they laid them out. They really thought this one kind of through, so they all just kind of lock in, and it's very stable. And you can see some of the mold lines, you know, on there. We didn't get to scrape them all down, unfortunately. It's just with a time thing. But, you know, this is the easier to build. There are, you know, little slots and pegs and things. It's not easier to build, or ETB, like the Indomitus ones, but these go together very well and very quick. Like, it's very well thought out. This is probably the most complicated one because this rail up here is actually separate. I didn't realize that when we were looking at the instructions there, but it goes together really neat, and you almost don't notice it. I guess it's, you know, just an extra little detail there that really kind of makes it all pop. Now, when it comes to the regular duders with that's not it. Oh, maybe I didn't do a regular. Oh, I did do. Okay, I got confused. Again, I had the push foot ones right next to this, and well, they're all starting to kind of look the same. So this is the multi-part one, and you can see where it's just the 2 feed lines going back there, and it's got the multi-Melta kind of power canister sort of thing, or I don't know. I guess it's a generator because. No, I guess it is. I don't know. I don't know what they're swapping out on the other variants there. And you can see it's got the Gene Simmons moon boots going on, and everything looks very dynamic and such. And you can switch out the heads. There's actually a lot of heads that we saw on that sprue there. Now, the front for this one, it's actually 2 parts, and it isn't hollowed out or it isn't bored out. Whereas with the multi-Melta, it is whatever. It's just a small detail. You can get your drill bit. I keep them set up here with the different sizes so I can just drill out barrel holes as I need to. But everything goes together, and it's very, very cool looking. Now, if you want, what you can do is you can actually swap that bit out right there where you can see it locks in, and that will just be the plasma canister, and you won't have all this going to the back, and it'll be just fine. There's actually separate backpacks, so you don't have all this stuff just hanging out in limbo back here. So it all kind of makes sense. So it's less to paint. But it might not look as cool, I suppose. And then you've got, so it looks something like this, but this is actually the push fit one, which is why I was getting confused, because I was like, man, it looks so good, just like this one, which is the canister. But yeah, this is actually the push fit one from Indomitus. So again, very dynamic. Both of them are, and it's actually very, very hard to tell. If it wasn't for that little terrain bit right there, I would have forgotten already. So there's that, and this guy actually is push fit together. That's the cool part about it. But you know, might need to use a little bit of glue right there to get him together. So I think overall, you know, whether you got him in Indomitus or you need more, or you want the cool looking poses, you want to do the hoses, you want this extra multi-Melta bit right here for your sergeant, because I think a lot of people are running those right now. Well, you might want to pick up this kit, but if you just want to stick with this. These guys look great too, to be quite honest, and I think once they're on the tabletop next to each other, it's going to be very, very hard to tell them apart. So that is it for this one. We looked at 3 great kits, put together 2 of them and compared them to some of the Indomitus versions there, which I think it's all good. So a lot of people looking forward to these releases this week. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget, you can always support us over on Patreon. We get exclusive discount codes to a lot of different hobby manufacturers out there as well. We'll put the link in the comments, or possibly in the video description as well below. But before you leave, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.